Hello, everyone. This is my first point regarding the curse in Genesis 3. I believe that it's clear here that Genesis 3 was not God's original plan for humankind, for earth, for animals, and even for the serpent. Here it says that God is cursing the serpent, is cursing the woman, is cursing the animals, is cursing the whole earth, cursing the ground. And this was not God's original plan. So everything, every single word that you see highlighted here is a curse that God has put on the serpent, on the woman, on the man, on the ground, on the fields, on the cattle, on all the animals, the whole earth. This is God's judgment. It's not God's first original plan for humankind. What you see here highlighted, every single word is a curse. If you take words from these verses that are highlighted with blue here, if you take any words from these verses and say that they are part of God's original plan, you are deceived. Nothing that you see highlighted here is part of God's original plan for humankind. God did not create Adam like you see in verse 17 here, when he tells him, "Cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life." No, we clearly see that God has blessed Adam, and he tells him to enjoy every fruit of the garden, besides the bad tree, He gives him absolutely everything to enjoy. He doesn't curse the ground. The ground is not cursed. We also see God that he tells to man and woman to be fruitful and multiply. But in verse 16 here, God changes his mind and curses the woman and says, "I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children." So we see that God's original plan was for them to multiply and for her not to have any sorrow. But here it says that in sorrow shalt thou bring forth children, and to Adam says that in sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. God didn't intend before to bring sorrow to Adam and to Eve. Then he says in verse 16, "And thy desire shall be for thy husband, and he shall rule over thee." Now some big-headed scholars and theologians somehow extract these words from this verse, from this curse, and they place them before the curse. They say that what you see at the end of verse 16 here, "And thy desire shall be to thy husband." These people don't understand that this is a curse. Whatever that means, desire in the original Hebrew, I haven't really studied it, I don't know. But it is part of the curse. You better believe it. And thy desire shall be for thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Man was not ruling over the woman before this curse. If man was ruling over the woman before this curse, it would have been no need for God to mention that. Plus, we clearly see that everything here is a curse. The serpent is cursed. Everything is cursed. The ground, the woman, the man. You see? So, this is an evidence, if we just use our common sense, that man was not ruling over woman before this curse. And the desire of woman was not for her husband before this curse. You cannot say that, oh, everything else, it's okay, but just this verse here, it was from the beginning. And then you just use some scriptures like woman was made from the rib of Adam, or whatever rubbish that you decide to use, and add to the scriptures and just make up your own doctrine and say, yeah, man was supposed to rule over woman even from the beginning. Look at the rib. God used his rib. Therefore, he was meant to rule over her. Oh, look, he named her. Oh, he gave her a name, so he was meant to rule over her. What does that mean? These are all false doctrines. This is clear. Every atheist with a bit of common sense, if he reads this, he would clearly see. And unfortunately, Christians are so deceived. I mean, you can give me any other verses, but this is not one of them. You cannot prove from this verse here that God's original plan before this curse in Genesis 3, you cannot say that God's original plan was for man to rule over woman. You cannot say that God's original plan was that the desire of woman shall be for her husband or to her husband. Just like you cannot say that God's original plan was for her to be in sorrow when she brings forth children. You cannot say that. The serpent was not crawling and eating dust before the curse. The woman was not in sorrow when she was bringing forth children. Her desire was not for her husband. Her husband was not ruler over her. Thorns and thistles were not on the earth before this curse. They were not eating the herb of the field before of this curse. He was not meant to eat bread in the sweat of his face. And they were not meant to return to dust. This is a very important doctrine. Very important doctrine. It doesn't look like it, But hopefully, if you agree with me, then we have a foundation. We have a foundation to destroy some sacred cows that the religion has formed. And just hear me out. Just hear me out and bear with me. And you will see the truth. May Jesus bless you.